tide.
When you look at the stars, what do you see?
Looks like a frying pan.
Can't you see the spilled milk?
What are you talking about? It's a bear.
We've heard about the song, but there's nothing little about our nearest star, the sun. Get your protective eye gear on. It's time to take a closer look at the sun and the stars. Stars twinkling in the dark may seem small, but they are not. Stars only appear small to us because most of them are so far away. All stars, like our nearest star, the sun, are really large, hot balls of glowing gases. A star gives off energy and makes its own light. Stars glow because they are hot. But we cannot feel the heat because most stars are far from Earth. And even though we can see the stars clearly at night, we cannot see them during the day because our star, the sun, is so bright.
The sun is the closest star to Earth. We can see how bright it is during the day, and we can feel its heat.
Our sun. Physical characteristics.
One place that people can't explore is the sun. It's too hot and very far away.
The sun is our closest star, but it is still millions of miles from Earth. The sun is the center of our universe. All of the planets circle around the sun. The Greek word for sun is sol, so people often use the word solar to talk about the sun. Because it is a star, the sun is made up of really hot gases. These gases have a lot of energy, making the surface of the sun very hot. And the center of the sun is even hotter.
The surface of the sun is about 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. You know how hot fire is? Well, the surface of the sun is about 22 times hotter than fire.
The surface of the sun is surrounded by thin, reddish-pink gases called the corona. During a solar eclipse, you can see the outermost layer that glows like a crown. Corona is the Spanish word for crown. There are bright and dark spots on the sun's surface. The dark spots are called sunspots. Sunspots are cooler than the area around them. These sunspots can be very large. Some are bigger than Earth. The number of sunspots is always changing. There can be as few as 10 or as many as 100 sunspots at one time. Giant storms on the sun often happen at the sunspots. These bright spots on the sun's surface are called flares. These storms are caused when gases explode into hot, bright flares. These bright spots are even hotter than the rest of the sun's surface and give off a lot of energy. These storms are called solar flares or solar storms.
Solar storms are so powerful they can actually cause problems on Earth. Sometimes they cause power failures and there's no electricity available. So lights go out and TVs stop working. Solar flares help make gases around the Earth glow and make auroras, like the aurora borealis, or northern lights, that can be seen from some parts of Earth.
Sometimes fiery ribbons and loops of gases rise from the surface of the sun and move into its corona. These ribbons and loops are called prominences. They are like giant fireworks, bigger than Earth. These loops at the side of the sun are huge, bright arcs of gas. They rise from the edge of the sun and flow back into it. The sun makes energy in its center. Energy is what makes things move, heat up, or change in other ways. The sun's energy makes heat and light that travels from the sun to Earth. Although the sun is a medium-sized star, it looks bigger because it is closer to Earth than other stars. Some stars are more than 1,000 times larger than our sun. Some stars are 450 times smaller than our sun. When we look into the night sky, the sun and the moon may seem to be the same size. But the sun is more than 400 times larger than the moon. The sun looks smaller because it is so far from Earth.
To get an idea of why the sun and moon appear to be the same size, close one eye. Hold your thumb in front of your other eye. And look at a friend. Your friend might seem to be the same size as your thumb.
If the sun were the size of a skyscraper, Earth would be the size of a person, and the moon would be the size of a Cocker Spaniel. You would have to line up 100 Earths to reach across the sun. The sun is so big that it pulls things toward itself, like a big magnet. The sun pulls on Earth and the other planets. All of the planets in our solar system circle around the sun. This pull that makes the planets circle the sun is called gravity.
Movement.
Just like Earth, the sun spins like a top. Imagine that the sun is a basketball spinning on your fingertip. Draw an imaginary line from your fingertip straight up through the sun and out the top. That imaginary line is called an axis. The sun spins or rotates on an axis. It takes about 1 month for the sun to spin once around on its axis. And the sun moves in another way. It revolves. Just like the planets move around the sun moves around the center of our galaxy. A galaxy is a large collection of stars. Our galaxy is called the Milky Way.
It takes about 200 million years for the sun to revolve completely around the center of the Milky Way. Relationship with Earth.
The sun and Earth move in two ways. They rotate and revolve. Long ago, people thought that the Earth stood still while the sun moved around it each day. We now know that the sun does not move around the Earth, but the Earth rotates or turns. Earth also spins on an imaginary line called an axis. Earth's axis is tilted a little bit, making the Earth look a little tipped. At the north end of the Earth's axis is the North Pole. At the south end of the Earth's axis is the South Pole.
The Earth is always turning, even though you can't feel it.
Day and night happen because Earth turns. When your side of Earth is facing the sun, you have daytime. When your side of Earth is not facing the sun, you have nighttime.
It's darker. We say that the sun rises and sets, but it does not. The sun only seems to move across the sky. It looks like it is moving because Earth is moving.
It takes 24 hours for Earth to make one complete rotation. One complete rotation is 1 day. But the Earth does not just rotate, it also revolves. An object that moves in a circle around another object revolves. Earth travels in a circle around the sun. The time it takes for a planet to circle the sun is called a year. It takes 365 days for Earth to circle the sun.
The sun and the seasons.
In many parts of the world, the year is made up of 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. In most places, winter is cold, and there are few hours of daylight. Summer is hotter, with longer hours of daylight. These seasons are caused by Earth's tilted axis. Earth slants a little as it revolves around the sun. As Earth revolves around the sun, its axis is always tilted in the same direction. During the year, the part of Earth tilted toward the sun gets more direct sunlight. It is summer on this part of Earth. Part of Earth tilted away from the sun gets less direct sunlight. It is winter on this part of Earth. When the Earth is here, it's winter. Now it's spring. Summer. Fall. And back to winter.
Solar energy.
Without the sun, Earth would be very different. There would be no warmth, no light, and no life. The sun's energy makes life on Earth possible. The sun gives 2 kinds of energy to Earth: heat and light. All living things depend on light for the food that gives them energy. Plants use the sun's light energy to make their food. Green leaves use energy from sunlight to change the water from the soil and the carbon dioxide from the air into sugar and oxygen. This is called photosynthesis. Animals must eat plants or other animals to get their energy. We can also use plants as fuel. That's something that can give heat, light, or power. Trees store the sun's energy as wood. When we burn wood, the sun's energy is released as heat and light.
We also use coal, oil, and gas for fuel. These things were formed from plants and animals that lived long ago. When we burn these fuels, we are using the energy from the sun that was stored in them.
Heat energy from the sun warms Earth. A layer of gases surrounds Earth and helps trap heat from the sun. This layer of gases is called our atmosphere. Our atmosphere lets sunlight in to warm Earth, but does not allow much heat to escape back into space. The sun warms Earth much like a greenhouse works to warm plants. Sunlight easily slips in through the nearly clear greenhouse, but the heat generated by that sunlight does not pass back out as easily. Because the sun warms Earth like a greenhouse, scientists call this the greenhouse effect.
Oh, I get it. Some small things that happen on Earth also happen in space.
Right.
Constellations.
As you look at the night sky, the stars seem to make patterns in the darkness. Long ago, people looked for pictures in these patterns and made up stories about the pictures they saw. People all over the world have looked at the same stars and the same patterns for hundreds of years. These patterns are called constellations. There are many constellations in the night sky. You might recognize the Big Dipper, or the Little Dipper, and Orion, the Hunter.
Stars and seasons.
Although people all over the world see the same constellations, they see them at different times of the year. Even though the stars seem to move, they do not. It is Earth that is moving. Stars stay in the same place. As Earth moves around the sun, you can see stars in different parts of space. Because Earth turns towards the east, the stars appear to rise above the horizon. As Earth keeps turning, the stars appear to move across the sky. Earth keeps turning until the stars seem to disappear below the western horizon. Because Earth moves in space around the sun, we see different constellations at different times of the year. Farmers used to look at the movement of the constellations, like a calendar, to keep track of time. Because the constellation would be visible at the same time each year, they would know when it was time to plant their crops and when it was time to harvest them.
The North Star. But not all stars seem to move with the season. The North Star is always in the same place.
The North Star, also called Polaris, is the only star that seems to stand still. Polaris lies above the Earth's axis, almost exactly over the North Pole. And the constellations that are right near Polaris don't seem to move across the night sky like the other constellations. They move in a circle around Polaris. The Big Dipper is one of these constellations. An easy way to find Polaris is to look for the Little Dipper. Polaris is at the end of the Little Dipper's handle. Because Polaris lies directly above the North Pole, when you find it in the sky, you know where north is. For hundreds of years, sailors have used Polaris to find their way home. Campers, too, use Polaris to find directions. Even the most modern spacecraft use the stars to steer their course.
The stars at the South Pole seem to spin around one spot, just like the stars at the North Pole do. But there is no star at the South Pole. So, even though there is a North Star, there's no such thing as a South Star.
Astronomy.
Though we can see many stars from Earth, some stars are not bright enough to see without the help of a telescope. A telescope is a tool scientists use that make faraway things look clear and bigger. A man named Galileo was one of the first scientists to use a telescope. Galileo was a special kind of scientist called an astronomer. An astronomer is a scientist who studies objects in space. Astronomers can study space from Earth by using telescopes, cameras, computers, sound recorders, and space probes.
Roger, TV circuit breakers in. Space pod clear.
Astronomers also study space by sending people on space missions.
Oh, I get it. Astronomers study space from Earth and from space.
Right. And what else did you learn?
All stars, like our nearest star, the Sun, are really large, hot balls of glowing gases.
A star gives off energy and makes its own light.
Without it, there would be no life on Earth, and no day, night, or seasons.
By itself, the sun is impressive, huge, and incredibly hot.
With large, bright flares and sunspots, and storms that are bigger than Earth. And there are other stars just like the Sun, but farther away. Some are bigger, and some are smaller.
But they are all packed with energy.
We could see so many stars from Earth.
They make patterns in the sky called constellations.
And the North Star, Polaris, can help people find their way when they are lost.
Some of the stars that we can't see when we look into the sky are visible with the help of telescopes and other tools that astronomers use.
So there is much more to stars than just spilled milk or a fuzzy bear. And while they twinkle, they sure aren't little. They are amazing.